Hi everyone. Uh, a lot of people know about this hierarchy of victimhood, this progressive stack. And of course, it's the score chart for victimhood. The more of a victim you are, the more points you get, and the more power and say you get in a social or political discussion. And of course, on the top, there are Muslims and other brown and black people. Then there are the trans and gay people, women, disabled people, and on it goes. And even though the white social justice warriors, they have no stake in it, like they aren't even on the pyramid. They aren't victims at all. They don't get any benefit from those scoring systems. They love it. And they have a scoring system of their own. And you hear about it way less than about the hierarchy of victimhood. And it's this hierarchy of self-hating oppressors. Like, that's the very reason these white social justice warriors love to talk about stuff like slavery or Japanese internment camps or Vietnam War or other stuff, like nasty stuff their own countries have done, or even people of their own skin tone. Like, that's enough of a connection. And they get to feel like oppressors. Like, that's the only possible way they could feel like oppressors, because they have never oppressed anyone. They have never discriminated anyone. They haven't ever even been mean to anyone. So that's what they have to do to make themselves feel like oppressors. And after they've established that they are oppressors, they go on to Tumblr or BuzzFeed or their YouTube channel, and they scourge themselves and their own race and their own country for that oppression. And that's how they score these virtue points. And that's why they are so public about their self-hating. Like, you don't get virtue points if you self-hate on your own. Like that there's nobody around. Of course you have to do it publicly, so people can see how good of a person you are. So, and these same situations, they are of course going on in Finland too. And when I talk about this stuff that goes on in Finland, I often use practical examples just because otherwise people won't grasp it. They won't understand how crazy the situation is over here. Like, they are doomed to underestimate it if I don't explain it in a very practical terms. And the same goes for this white guilt thing. Like, you could ask what Finns have to feel white guilt for. Like, we haven't done anything. Like, our ancestors haven't owned slaves. They have mostly been slaves. They haven't colonialized anyone. Our country was colonialized. Like, what do we have to feel guilt for? But of course, if you want to look at it that way, you can find something. And I found this post in this closed feminist discussion group on Facebook. And this white Finnish woman explains that we should dismantle the myth that Finland has had no part in colonialism. And she wonders why she always gets so much resistance when she talks about, like, Finns who have worked in colonialized countries, such as the Belgian Congo, or that the Finnish tar and metal industry, they made products, and those might have ended up on slave ships. And she says that of course they used the tar to make slave ships waterproof, which should be obvious if you think about it for a while. That's what she says. So her rationale is that Finns used to make tar, and that tar might have been used to waterproof slave ships. Like, that's her connection. Like, that's how far she has to go. And she mentions Finnish missionaries in colonialized countries, and I'm not sure if there even were those. And then she mentions that Finland might have possibly benefited from the Russian Empire colonializing Siberia and the far east of Russia. Okay, but they were colonializing us at the same time. Like we went a part of the Russian Empire out of our own free will. We were colonialized just the same as Siberia and Russian Far East. But because these people, they feel this desperate need to be some sort of oppressors or some sort of victims. They want to be on some side of that argument. Like if they can't be the victims, if they can't be brown people or Muslims or trans people or anything, the least they can be is the self-hating oppressors. And then they can do dumb shit like that, get online, write ridiculous stuff like that just to scorch themselves and virtue signal to all their feminist social justice friends of how good people they are. And I'm really starting to believe that this is some sort of mental disorder, type that we need a new diagnostic number for this. Because it can't be that these people are just getting these same dumb ideas, that they're just stupid. There must be some sort of like mental disconnect that causes them to be like this. Like these are clearly unbalanced people. Like no sane, balanced, emotionally healthy person needs victimhood or needs to feel like an oppressor or needs to score virtue points online to feel any meaning in their life. Like that's not how normal people function. But this is how it is. So here's another practical example of how crazy it can get over here. Finnish tar might have been used to tar slave ships. Keep that in mind. Thank you for listening.